The Galactic Council Hall shimmered with light from 1,000 worlds. Aliens of every shape and color filled the great chamber, scaled, furred, feathered, and even liquid ones that shimmered like living water. They were all gathered for a single reason: to decide the fate of one small, backward planet called Earth. Humans had finally made contact, or rather, been found, and the galaxy was laughing. At the center of the hall, Ambassador Reltak of the Zorian Empire leaned back in his crystal chair, his 4 golden eyes glinting with amusement. "Their ships use chemical propulsion," he said, almost choking with laughter. "They still burn liquid fuel. How primitive." Ripples of laughter echoed through the crowd. A dozen other ambassadors joined in, mocking the species that had dared to send a message to the stars. "Do they even have shields?" asked one, a serpentine being from the Null system. "No," Reltak smirked. "They still use metal plates. Real ones. Like armor from the Bronze Age." More laughter. Only one figure in the chamber didn't laugh. A quiet observer at the back, wearing a plain gray cloak. His name was Captain Elias Ward of Earth's first interstellar delegation. He had been sent to represent humanity, and to listen. He didn't speak. He didn't interrupt. He just watched. Because he knew what the aliens didn't. Humans had learned something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten long ago: the meaning of desperation. Humanity's entire history was built on being outmatched, outnumbered, and outgunned. From stone spears to nuclear fire, they had survived everything. And when they couldn't match power, they matched will. The laughter in the hall grew louder when the council played a video clip of a human spacecraft, a bulky gray ship with glowing engines and patched metal. It looked ugly, even fragile, beside the sleek alien designs. "This," said Reltak, "is their flagship. The Independence. It has, what do they call it? A railgun." He chuckled. "A cannon that throws metal slugs. How barbaric." Even the council speaker smiled. "And yet, they ask for recognition in our defense treaty. Do they believe they can protect anyone with this scrap metal?" Elias said nothing. He simply pressed a button on his wrist device. A hologram appeared, a live transmission from the Independence itself, orbiting nearby. "Commander Reeves," Elias said calmly, "please run the demonstration." The alien laughter quieted. The human ship rotated slowly in orbit around the Council's moon, a barren rock used for testing. From its hull, a single long barrel extended, the railgun. "Power to magnetic coils," Reeves said through the comm. "Target. Lunar test range, distance 4,000 kilometers." The aliens leaned forward, some whispering. The coil gun was primitive technology, obsolete for thousands of years. What could it possibly show? Then the railgun fired. There was no sound, just a flash of light, and then a second later, the entire alien moon shook. The shot didn't explode, it simply hit, carving a crater several hundred meters deep into solid rock. Silence filled the council hall. Elias looked around. That was one slug. No explosives. Just kinetic force. Reltak's smile faded slightly, but he still forced a laugh. Impressive, for a species still crawling out of its gravity well. Elias didn't react. "Commander," he said, "fire shot 2. The second shot was aimed at a target drone, a moving object flying at near supersonic speed. The railgun tracked it automatically. Boom. The drone vaporized. Now, no one laughed. "Third shot," Elias said. "Maximum range." "Sir, that's classified testing distance," Reeves replied. "Do it." The aliens began murmuring, some in disbelief, others in awe. The Independence fired again, and this time, the slug didn't stop at the moon. It vanished into the void, and moments later, distant sensors picked up a massive energy spike. A target satellite, 6 million kilometers away, had been destroyed. Gasps filled the chamber. Elias turned off the hologram. His voice was calm, but cold. "That was at 1% power." The silence stretched. Finally, the council speaker spoke, his voice shaking slightly. "You developed this weapon yourselves?" Elias nodded. We developed it after one of your border patrols shot down our first contact probe. Reltac's golden eyes narrowed. You dare to threaten the council? Elias smiled slightly, the kind of smile that never reached the eyes. No. But I think you've mistaken our patience for weakness. The lights flickered in the hall. Some alien delegates looked uneasy. The humans were primitive, yes, but something about their quiet confidence was unsettling. For centuries, the galaxy had known peace. No wars. No revolutions. No desperation. They had forgotten what real survival looked like. But the humans, they hadn't. When the meeting ended, whispers spread through every corridor of the council. Some called them savages. Others called them dangerous. Only a few understood the truth. The galaxy had just awakened a species that didn't need advanced technology to win. They only needed a reason. And soon, they were going to get one. The news of the demonstration spread faster than light itself. Across the galaxy, every major species watched the replay of the human railgun test. The image of that single slug carving through a moon played again and again, a reminder that the primitive apes of Earth might not be so harmless after all. On the Zorian flagship Eternal Dawn, Ambassador Reltac stood by the viewport, his 4 eyes staring into the darkness of space. His voice was cold now, stripped of laughter. They have power, he said softly. But power without understanding is chaos. His aide, a thin insectoid creature with trembling limbs, nodded nervously. Shall we recommend sanctions, sir? Reltac's eyes glowed. No. We will study them first. Every weapon, every ship, every piece of metal they throw into the void. I want to know how they think. He turned sharply. Humans are dangerous because they do not know their place. Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, the Independence floated silently. Inside, Captain Reeves and his crew were still processing the attention they had drawn. Lieutenant Carter leaned back in her chair, shaking her head. They looked at us like we were animals, she said. Now they look at us like we're monsters. Reeves smirked. Both are fine. Monsters don't get invaded. The bridge crew chuckled softly, but no one truly felt at ease. They all knew what the demonstration meant. Humanity had shown its teeth, and the galaxy would respond. Down on Earth, the United Nations Defense Command met in an underground chamber beneath Geneva. Generals, admirals, and scientists filled the room. The mood was tense. Ambassador Ward's demonstration was effective, said General Huxley, his voice gravelly. But it painted a target on our backs. Every major power out there now sees us as a potential threat. Dr. Liang, the chief scientist behind the railgun project, adjusted her glasses. They needed to see it, she said. They've ignored us for years. They called us savages. Now they know what happens when a cornered species stops running. But do you understand what you've done? Interrupted Admiral Brooks. We just entered the galactic arena by firing a gun. The room fell silent. Ambassador Ward stepped forward. His face was calm, but his voice carried steel. They mocked us because they thought we were harmless. Now they'll think twice before pushing Earth around. That's not a threat. It's balance. Half the room agreed. The other half looked terrified. Above them, deep in space, unknown ships began to move. Surveillance stations near Mars picked up faint energy signatures, cloaked probes, moving slowly toward Earth's orbit. Someone was watching. On the Independence, the radar officer frowned. Sir, we've got unknown contacts, faint, just at the edge of range. No transponder signals. Reeves leaned forward. Council ships. Not Council. Smaller. Zorian design, maybe. Reeves exhaled. They didn't waste time. He tapped his calm command. This is Independence. We have multiple unidentified vessels shadowing our position. Recommend going to Alert Level 2. The reply came minutes later. Acknowledged. Maintain visual. Do not engage. But humans had learned long ago, When something hides in the dark, it's rarely friendly. Hours later, one of the alien probes drifted closer. Too close. Its stealth field flickered, revealing a small, insect-like drone. It scanned the human ship, then turned away. Carter's voice was tight. "Sir, that's a recon unit. They're mapping our systems." Reeves didn't hesitate. "Target it. Low-power rail slug." The barrel of the human railgun moved slowly, locking onto the retreating drone. A soft hum filled the bridge. Fire. The shot was silent, but the result was not. The drone exploded instantly, fragments burning like falling stars. Every sensor in the sector picked it up. Within hours, Zorian Command knew. And so, the laughter truly ended. Reltak slammed his clawed hand against the console when the report came in. "They destroyed a Zorian recon craft?" "Yes, sir. No warning." "Then they've made their choice," Reltak hissed. "If humans want to show their strength, they will learn what real war looks like." He opened a channel to the Galactic Council. "Ambassador Reltak to all members, I am requesting emergency sanctions against the Terran Union. Their actions are a threat to peace." But not everyone agreed. The small, aquatic ambassador from the Rim colonies spoke softly. "You mock them for being primitive, yet they strike with precision. You call them savages, yet they act only when provoked. Perhaps the humans are not what we think." Reltak glared. "You defend them." "I respect survival," she replied. While the council argued, far away on the Independence, Reeves stared out into the stars. He knew this was just the beginning. Humans had revealed their weapon, but not their resolve. "Carter," he said quietly, "send a message to command. Tell them the galaxy just declared war, they just don't know it yet." Outside, in the cold void, the first human warship in history drifted between the stars, its metal skin scarred but proud. The crew didn't sleep that night. None of them did. Because deep down, every one of them knew something terrible, and thrilling, had begun. And when humans begin to fight, they don't stop. The stars above Mars burned quietly, unaware that history was about to change. The Independence floated in silent orbit, every sensor alive and watching. Captain Reeves stood in the command chair, eyes fixed on the tactical display. 5 Zorian warships had entered the system, sleek, dark, and elegant, their hulls reflecting light like liquid glass. Each one was twice the size of the human ship. Lieutenant Carter's voice broke the silence. "Sir, Zorian fleet approaching fast. They've ignored all hails." Reeves didn't move. "Weapons status?" "Railgun charged. Coil temperature stable. Missiles ready." He nodded once. "Then we wait." The Zorian ships slowed as they neared Mars orbit. One transmitted a message, cold, formal, and arrogant. "This is Commander Velrath of the Zorian Empire. Human vessel, you have violated galactic peace. Power down your weapons and surrender for inspection. Failure to comply will result in your destruction." The bridge crew looked at Reeves. He didn't even blink. "Transmit reply." Carter swallowed. "What should I say, sir?" "Tell them, humanity doesn't kneel." A moment later, the Zorian ships began to move again, faster this time. Shields flared to life, glowing like blue fire. "They're locking weapons," Carter said. "Then let's give them a welcome," Reeves said calmly. "Fire railgun, 1 slug, mid-velocity. Target lead ship." The Independence shuddered. A bright streak of light flashed across the void, invisible to the naked eye but burning hot on every radar. A heartbeat later, the Zorian lead cruiser was hit. Its shields flared, cracked, and then shattered like glass. The slug tore through its hull, venting fire and metal into space. The crew gasped. "Direct hit," Carter shouted. "Their shield matrix is down." Reeves' eyes narrowed. "Target the second ship. High velocity this time." The railgun roared again. Another streak. Another explosion. The Zorians were fast faster than anything built on Earth, but they weren't used to fighting an enemy that didn't follow their rules. Humans didn't rely on energy beams or shield duels. They relied on math, momentum, and ruthlessness. The remaining 3 ships broke formation and began firing, green energy lances cutting through the void. The Independence twisted and rolled, thrusters screaming. Evasive maneuvers. Reeves barked. The first blast missed. The second grazed the hull, shaking the ship violently. Warning lights flickered red across the bridge. Shields down to 40%. Keep firing. The railgun fired again, then again, each shot tearing through the dark like thunder made of metal. One of the Zorian ships lost its engines. Another exploded completely, consumed by its own reactor fire. But the Independence wasn't unharmed. Main reactor overheating. Carter yelled. "We can't keep firing." Reeves gritted his teeth. "Then let's make it count." He looked at the tactical display. Only one Zorian ship remained, the Vraction, the flagship. It was powering up something huge. "Sir," the radar officer said quietly, "they're charging a particle cannon." Reeves stared for a long second, then smiled. "Of course they are." He opened the ship-wide channel. "All hands, brace for impact." The Zorian flagship fired. A beam of white energy cut through the darkness, pure destruction, aimed directly at the human ship. It hit. The Independence spun, flames bursting across the hull. The bridge went dark for 3 seconds, an eternity. Carter's voice came through the smoke. "We lost shields. Reactors failing." Reeves coughed, his hands gripping the console. "Target their weapon array. Manual aim." "Sir, we don't have sensors." "Then aim by instinct." He watched the faint glimmer of the Zorian ship through the cracked viewport. Just a shape, but enough. Fire. The last slug left the railgun, burning bright, fast, and silent. It slammed directly into the Zorian's cannon core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the flagship exploded. The blast rippled across space, lighting the void like a new sunrise. The shockwave hit the Independence, throwing it into a spin, tearing panels from the hull. Silence followed. Only static filled the comms. The entire crew sat in stunned quiet. Carter's voice finally broke the stillness. "All Zorian ships destroyed." Reeves exhaled slowly. "Status. Half systems offline. Hull integrity at 30%. But we're alive." Reeves leaned back in his chair, staring out into the stars. "Then that's enough." Word of the battle spread within hours. The Zorians called it an accident. The Council called it unfortunate. But the truth was clear: a single human ship had destroyed a fleet. And across the galaxy, fear began to grow. In bars, stations, and colonies, aliens whispered about the humans, about the species that fought like beasts and thought like machines. They said one primitive ship had defeated the Empire's best. They said the humans didn't fight for conquest. They fought for survival. And survival, they realized, was the most dangerous motive of all. Back on the damaged Independence, Reeves stood at the viewport once again. The stars looked different now, colder, sharper, alive with threat. Carter joined him quietly. "Sir," she said, "you think they'll come again?" Reeves nodded slowly. "Oh, they'll come. But next time, we won't be alone." He looked down at Earth, glowing softly below. "They mocked us once. Let's see how long they can laugh." The council chamber was silent. Holoscreens replayed the footage again and again. A single human ship, the Independence, tearing through 5 Zorian warships like paper. The images spread across every system in the galaxy. The laughter that once filled these halls was gone. Now, there was only fear. Ambassador Reltak stood at the center of the chamber, his scaled hands trembling in fury. "This cannot be allowed," he roared. "A primitive world cannot destroy an imperial fleet and go unpunished." The Speaker of the Council, A tall, silver-skinned being named Orith raised a calm hand. "Ambassador, the humans claim self-defense. Your ships violated their orbit without permission." Reltak hissed. "Self-defense. They obliterated an entire squadron." From across the room, the aquatic ambassador from the Rim system spoke again, her soft, rippling voice echoing through the chamber. "Perhaps that is what happens when you test a species that has survived extinction more than once." The council murmured. But politics moved faster than reason. Within hours, emergency resolutions passed. Sanctions were declared. A blockade around the solar system was proposed. Fleets began to mobilize. And humanity watched. Far below, in a black site bunker buried beneath Antarctica, Project Ares was being prepared. Only a handful of people even knew it existed. Rows of engineers worked in silence around a massive circular chamber. At its center hung something vast, a ship unlike anything built before. Its hull was matte black, its frame thick and angular, covered in magnetic armor plating. The name painted across its side read, HSS Ares. Dr. Liang stood beside Captain Reeves, both staring at the monster they had built. "It's not finished," Liang said quietly. "The core reactor still needs testing. The railgun array isn't calibrated. We need months." Reeves shook his head. "We don't have months." He pointed at the holographic map above them. Dozens of alien fleets moving closer to the edge of the solar system. "We have weeks, maybe days." Liang's expression hardened. "Then we'll finish it in weeks." Meanwhile, in orbit around Jupiter, the Independence floated in dry dock, half of its hull still glowing from battle damage. Crews worked around the clock, patching armor and restoring systems. Lieutenant Carter walked through the corridor, stopping by the observation deck. From there, she could see the gas giant below, a swirling storm larger than Earth itself. Her comm buzzed. "Carter," Reeves said, "status report. Repairs at 70%. But morale..." She hesitated. "Sir, the crew's tired. They've been running non-stop." Reeves' voice softened slightly. "Let them rest for 12 hours. After that, we move to high alert." "Expecting visitors? They'll come. The Zorians won't forget their pride so easily." He paused, then added quietly, "And Command just sent new orders. We're to escort the Ares once it launches." Carter's eyes widened. "The Black Project. I thought it was a myth." Reeves almost smiled. "It was. Not anymore." 3 systems away, the Zorian High Command gathered. Their fleets were already forming. Dozens of cruisers, carriers, and dreadnoughts gleamed under the light of their twin suns. Commander Velratha's replacement, a younger and far more ruthless officer named Kothal, stood before the Admiralty. "These humans," Kothal said, his tone cold, "have proven one thing: they can fight. But courage does not equal strength. We will crush them before they spread their poison across the stars." An older admiral rumbled, "Their weapons are kinetic. Outdated. If we neutralize their velocity systems, they are harmless." Kothal smiled cruelly. "Then we'll turn their planet into a grave before they can reload." The order went out. Operation Silence Earth. 2 weeks later, deep in Earth orbit, Project Ares came alive. Massive clamps released, and the HSS Ares slowly drifted from its dock. Its engines hummed, a low vibration that made the air tremble. Reeves and Carter stood on the Independence's bridge, watching through the main viewport. "My God," Carter whispered. "It's huge." Reeves nodded. "Largest human-made object in space. Designed for one purpose. A warship." "No," he said quietly. "A warning." The Ares activated its main power core, a new reactor type born from both human and alien technology. Lightning-like arcs flickered across its hull as it drew energy from the planet's magnetic field. Command's voice came through the comm, "All units, defensive grid online. Multiple warp signatures detected at outer orbit. Zorian fleet inbound." The stars began to twist. Thousands of lights flickered into existence beyond Pluto. The Zorian fleet had arrived. Carter's voice was low. "There's too many." Reeves smiled faintly, eyes never leaving the radar. "Then they'll never forget us." He turned to the crew. "All stations, battle stations. Bring railguns to full charge. Patch me through to the Ares." A moment later, Dr. Liang's voice filled the bridge. "Ares ready for engagement. Reactor stable. Weapon primed." Reeves nodded. "Then let's show them what humanity does when it's cornered." Outside, the void shimmered as the first Zorian ships entered the solar system. Energy beams lit the dark, streaking toward the human defenses. And then, the Ares fired. It wasn't a beam or a missile. It was a single, invisible pulse. Pure magnetic energy unleashed in a wave that stretched across space. The front line of the Zorian fleet simply stopped. Their engines died. Their lights went out. Every system shut down in an instant. Carter's eyes went wide. EMP. That was impossible. Reeves grinned. "Welcome to human innovation." The Ares had done it, the galaxy's first magnetic pulse cannon, capable of disabling ships for millions of kilometers. But even as the Zorian ships drifted powerless, more appeared behind them, hundreds more. The real war had just begun. The void above Pluto was no longer silent. It burned. Thousands of Zorian warships filled the edge of the solar system. Dark, sleek, and endless. Their combined energy signatures made the stars themselves seem dim. And in the middle of that vast ocean of power floated a handful of human ships, fragile dots of steel and defiance. At their center, the HSS Ares stood like a black mountain. The most powerful warship humanity had ever built, and possibly their last. Captain Reeves' voice echoed through the bridge of the Independence. "All fleets, defensive positions. The first wave is coming." Lieutenant Carter's hands flew across her console. Zorian formation moving in. 3 carrier groups, 20 destroyers, and, gods, they're deploying drones by the thousands. Reeves exhaled. "So they brought everything. Everything they think it'll take to kill us," Carter said softly. Reeves smiled faintly. "Then they still don't understand humans." The Zorian flagship, Eternal Dawn II, led the attack. Commander Kothal stood on its bridge, his cold eyes watching the human formation. "Primitive design," he sneered. "They're outnumbered 10,000 to 1. Fire on all coordinates." Hundreds of plasma lances flared in unison, painting the void in green light. Seconds later, they struck. The first human defense line was shredded, 3 destroyers vaporized instantly. But the rest held. Human ships moved in tight, unpredictable patterns, weaving between plasma fire like a living swarm. "Return fire," Reeves shouted. The Independence's railgun roared, followed by dozens more. Metal slugs cut through the dark faster than light sensors could track. One by one, Zorian cruisers burst open, their shields cracking under the relentless kinetic barrage. Inside the Ares, Dr. Liang stood beside the ship's tactical AI. Magnetic pulse ready. Targeting the Zorian drone swarms. Fire. The Ares pulsed once more, its hull glowing faint blue. The wave rippled outward, invisible but unstoppable. Within seconds, thousands of Zorian drones went dark, their engines flickering out like dying stars. On the Independence, Carter laughed. "Direct hit. Their drones are blind." Reeves didn't smile. "Good. Now focus fire on their carriers. Cut the head off the beast." But the Zorians adapted quickly. Kothal's fleet shifted formation, pulling back damaged vessels while launching guided antimatter torpedoes, weapons forbidden under Council law. Carter's eyes widened. Incoming warheads. Too fast to intercept. Reeves clenched his jaw. Activate point defense grid. Redirect all auxiliary power. The Independence's hull panels opened, unleashing a web of automated defense turrets. Streams of tungsten shells filled the space around them like metallic rain. One torpedo exploded early, another deflected, but one hit. The blast rocked the Independence end to end. Fire ripped across the lower decks. Crew members were thrown from their stations. Engineering's hit. Carter shouted, "We're losing reactor pressure." Reeves steadied himself. "Seal the breach. No retreats. Not today." Static filled the comm before a voice broke through. Dr. Liang from the Ares. "Reeves, this is Liang. The Zorians are preparing their main strike. They've locked onto Earth." Reeves' blood ran cold. "Estimated time? 10 minutes. Maybe less." He turned to Carter. "We can't let them fire that cannon. Not once." Carter met his eyes. "We don't have the firepower." Reeves' voice was quiet, but certain. "Then we make it." The Ares powered up again, its magnetic core glowing like a newborn star. But the Zorians were ready this time. Hundreds of their ships surrounded it, bombarding the giant vessel from every side. Hull integrity dropped fast. Systems overloaded. Dr. Liang shouted over the alarms, "Reactor overheating. If we fire again, we'll blow ourselves apart." Reeves' voice came through the comm, calm, steady, human. "Then fire anyway." The bridge crew froze. Liang stared at the console. "You'll kill everyone on board." Reeves replied, "Better that than everyone on Earth." She hesitated for 1 second, and then nodded. "Understood." The Ares's weapon core began to pulse, brighter and brighter until the entire void shimmered. Zorian sensors screamed warnings. Cothal's voice thundered through his ship. "Destroy that vessel before it fires." Too late. The Ares unleashed everything. The pulse that followed wasn't light or sound, it was gravity itself bending. It rolled through the enemy fleet like a tidal wave. Shields cracked, reactors failed, ships twisted apart like paper in a storm. Dozens, then hundreds of Zorian ships exploded in silence, their wreckage scattering through the void. And at the heart of it, the Ares went dark. The battlefield grew still. The surviving Zorian ships drifted, systems dead. Only the Independence remained, battered but alive. Carter's voice trembled. "Sir, the Ares is gone." Reeves closed his eyes for a moment. "She did what she had to. Earth was safe, for now." The Zorians' invasion force was shattered. But across the stars, more fleets were gathering. Carter turned to him. "This isn't over, is it?" Reeves shook his head slowly. "No. They'll come again. Stronger." He looked out at the wreckage, thousands of broken ships spinning silently through the dark. "But next time," he said, "they won't be facing a single ship. They'll be facing humanity." Far below, Earth's night sky flickered with faint lights, debris burning up in the atmosphere, silent reminders of the battle fought above. And among the ruins of the Ares, deep in the cold void, one faint beacon blinked, a single repeating signal. Project Ares 2, status, active. The battle was over, but the galaxy would never be the same again. For the first time in recorded history, a major empire had been defeated by a species no one had even taken seriously a few months earlier. The images of burning Zorian ships drifting in the void spread across every known system. Even those who had never heard of Earth now whispered its name. In the council chambers, silence ruled once again. Ambassador Reltak sat motionless, his golden eyes dull with disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered. "They were outnumbered 100 to 1. The speaker's voice was quiet, almost fearful. "And yet, they survived." A smaller ambassador, a fragile avian from the Calyx worlds, leaned forward. "The humans destroyed 3 fleets, crippled 2 more, and protected their homeworld with a weapon we don't understand. If they can build another one, then they'll be the new power," Reltak finished bitterly. He stood, claws clicking against the polished floor. "If the humans think this victory makes them safe, they are mistaken. The Zorian Empire does not forgive humiliation." But others in the chamber were not so sure. The aquatic ambassador spoke softly. Perhaps it is not humiliation. Perhaps it is evolution. The galaxy has grown soft. They have not. Her words hung in the air like smoke. No one replied. Above Earth, the wreckage of the Ares drifted silently, the blackened remains of the most powerful human weapon ever built. For weeks, drones picked through the debris, collecting what little could be saved. Inside a damaged control pod, a faint blue light blinked in the darkness. It wasn't dead. Beneath the ice of Europa, deep under Jupiter's frozen crust, a secret hangar hummed to life. Engineers, scientists, and soldiers worked without sleep. This was Project Ares II, humanity's answer to the galaxy's growing fear. Dr. Liang stood before a half-completed frame, its size dwarfing everything around it. The new ship would be stronger, faster, and equipped with something entirely new. The Singularity Core, an engine that could bend space itself. She looked at the glowing schematics and whispered, "You gave us a future, Captain. Now we'll make sure no one ever threatens it again." In orbit, the Independence limped home. Inside, Captain Reeves sat in silence, staring at the stars. His uniform was scorched, his eyes hollow from sleepless nights. Lieutenant Carter entered quietly. "Sir, Earth Command is on line 3. They want a full report." Reeves didn't answer right away. "They already know what happened," he said finally. "We won. But winning doesn't mean peace." She nodded. "Zorian survivors? Scattered. Some fled beyond known space. Others are regrouping." Carter hesitated. "And the Council? They're pretending neutrality. But you can feel it, they're scared of us now." Reeves gave a weary smile. "Good. Let them be." He looked out at the faint glimmer of Mars in the distance. "We were the joke of the galaxy, Carter. And now, we're the warning." Months passed. Across the stars, human influence began to grow. Mining colonies were fortified. Mars received new defense platforms. The Moon hosted the first orbital shipyard capable of building interstellar vessels. But not everyone celebrated. In the shadows of the Orion Rift, remnants of the Zorian military gathered. Kothal, burned, scarred, but alive, stood before a fleet of survivors. He stared at the hologram of Earth. His voice was filled with hate. "They took everything from us, our ships, our honor. But they forget, the Zorian Empire was built on war. We were born for vengeance." He raised his claw. "We will return. Stronger, faster, evolved. And when we do, there will be no mercy." The fleet roared in response, engines igniting like stars. The war wasn't over. It had only paused. Back on Earth, Captain Reeves attended a quiet ceremony at the newly built Global Defense Command. Hundreds of soldiers stood at attention as the names of the fallen were read. Those who died aboard the Ares and other ships of the first battle. When it was his turn to speak, Reeves stepped forward to the podium. "They called us primitive," he began. His voice was calm but heavy. "They mocked our technology. They thought we were too small, too weak, too foolish to matter. But we showed them something they couldn't understand, what it means to fight for home." He looked at the faces before him. "We don't fight for conquest. We fight because we must. Because if humanity falls, no one will ever rise again." The crowd stood in silence, the weight of his words sinking deep. Later that night, Reeves stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars above were bright and calm, a lie he no longer believed in. Carter joined him quietly. "You should rest, sir." He smiled faintly. "Maybe when the galaxy stops watching us." She followed his gaze upward. "You think they'll attack again?" He nodded slowly. "The Zorians will. Maybe others too. Fear breeds war. Then what do we do?" Reeves turned toward her, his eyes cold and certain. "We prepare. We build. And next time, we won't just defend Earth," he paused. We'll go to them first. Far beyond Earth's orbit, in the darkness of Europa's ocean, the half-complete frame of the Ares 2 glowed brighter, its power core coming online for the first time. The machine's sensors flickered, and a familiar voice, soft and distorted, echoed from its main computer. "Captain Reeves," it said faintly. "Awaiting orders." Reeves looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zorians were plotting their revenge. He whispered, "Not this time." The galaxy had gone quiet again, but it was not peace, it was fear. Every empire, every species, every trading alliance watched the humans now. The stories of the Battle of Seoul had spread like wildfire, and though no one admitted it openly, everyone knew, the balance of power had shifted forever. But in the cold shadow of the Orion Rift, vengeance was already rising. The Zorian fleet, rebuilt, reforged, and angrier than ever, drifted through the black void like a storm of knives. Kothal stood on the bridge of his new flagship, Oblivion's Wrath. His once scarred face now bore a jagged metal implant, glowing faintly red. The symbol of his survival, and his hatred. He raised a claw toward the holographic image of Earth. "They took our pride," he growled. "Now, we take their sun." A general beside him hesitated. "But the humans, they destroyed our fleets. They have new weapons. The Ares is gone." Kothal snapped. "Their courage came from one ship. Without it, they are nothing but dust and memory." The fleet moved silently toward Seoul. Hundreds of warships, larger, deadlier, cloaked with new stealth technology, ready to finish what they had started. But humanity was not sleeping. Deep beneath the ice of Europa, the new Ares 2 stood completed, a black titan of steel and light. Its hull shimmered with adaptive armor, and its core pulsed with the energy of a newborn star. Dr. Liang stood before the control deck, her eyes reflecting the glow. "All systems stable," she said quietly. "The Singularity Core is ready." The communication console flickered to life, and Captain Reeves appeared on the screen. His expression was grim but calm. "Doctor, it's time." She nodded. "She's ready for war, Captain. But, are you?" Reeves looked away for a moment, then back. "We don't have a choice." Minutes later, the great hangar doors of Europa opened, and for the first time, Ares 2 rose into the blackness, a silent giant, its thrusters igniting like the eyes of a god. The galaxy watched. On Mars, military command detected something massive entering the system, the Zorian fleet. "Multiple contacts inbound," shouted a controller. "Over 300 ships, all armed. They're heading straight for Earth." Panic filled the channels. Civilian ships fled. Defense stations activated. But Earth's skies stayed calm, because one ship had already moved to intercept. The Ares 2 appeared between Mars and Jupiter, its dark hull gleaming. Captain Reeves stood on the command bridge, surrounded by calm chaos. "Lock targets," he said. Lieutenant Carter's fingers flew over her console. "All Zorian ships detected. They're spreading formation. They're expecting the same tactics as before." Reeves smiled coldly. "Then let's give them something new." The Ares 2 vanished. For a second, the Zorians were confused. Then a tear in space opened right in the middle of their fleet. From that wound in reality, the Ares 2 emerged, guns blazing. The Singularity Core allowed it to jump through folded space, appearing where no radar could predict. The first blast from its rail cannons tore through 3 Zorian cruisers. The second shattered a dreadnought. Kothal roared, "Fire everything!" Beams of plasma and kinetic rounds filled the void, a storm of light and death. But Ares 2 twisted through it, bending gravity around its hull. Inside, the crew held their breath as the ship's shields flared white-hot. "Shields at 40%. Carter shouted. "Keep pushing." Reeves barked. "Target the flagship." The great Zorian command ship came into view, glowing red against the darkness. Reeves' eyes narrowed. "End this." The main cannon of Ares 2 powered up, the Singularity Lance. Space itself began to twist, pulling energy from the heart of a miniature black hole. Cawthall's sensors screamed warnings, but it was too late. The Ares II fired. A silent flash, then, an explosion brighter than the sun. The Oblivion's wrath was torn apart, ripped into atoms, its debris vanishing into the event horizon created by its own destruction. The Zorian fleet broke. Ships fled in every direction. Some were consumed by their own unstable cores. The war was over in minutes. Later, in the quiet orbit above Earth, Captain Reeves stood alone on the observation deck of Ares II. Below him, the blue planet glowed, beautiful and peaceful once more. Carter joined him silently. "It's over," she said. Reeves nodded. "For now." She frowned. "You think they'll come back?" He looked at the stars, endless, silent, watching. "Someone always does." She smiled faintly. "Then we'll be ready." Reeves turned to the ship's main console. "Transmit message to the Galactic Council," he ordered. Carter raised an eyebrow. "What message?" Reeves' lips curved into a small, grim smile. "Tell them humanity doesn't want war. But if war comes again," he paused, eyes cold and steady, "they'll remember what happens when they mock human technology." As Ares II drifted back toward the shining Earth, the stars seemed to burn brighter, as if the universe itself had taken notice. For the first time in galactic history, humanity wasn't the prey. They were the warning. And every species watching from the edge of the void understood one thing. Never underestimate Earth again. The end.